Martin, what's your stance on Marcus Rashford? I'm looking at an abundance of messages coming in, especially after I posed a question going into 10:30. Where does it all end with Rashford? How does it end with Rashford? Rashford, of course, a Manchester United player who's on loan at the moment with Aston Villa, but who appears to have found his scoring touch. There is D. Jim, as a United fan, I'm very fed up about hearing about how great Marcus Rashford has been performing for Aston Villa. He should be ashamed of the fact that he turns it on for them but not for Manchester United. There is Abby, who's a United fan up in Glasgow. Great start to the show, guys, really enjoyed it. Marcus Rashford, I don't get it. All these fanboys are out praising him. Let's not forget it was against Preston. No offence to Preston. Marcus Rashford, for those who don't know, is on loan at Aston Villa because it wasn't going well, either on or off the pitch at Manchester United. He scored 2 in the space of 5 second-half minutes, put Preston out the cup, takes Villa through to the semi-finals, and this was him post-match.
So, yeah, it's obviously nice for a forward to always get goals, so hopefully it continues. Step by step, I think I can still, get fitter, and, I missed a lot of football before joining up with them, so, at the minute my body feels good, and, I'm injury-free and just enjoying my football, so all good for them.
Would United fans, Martin, be right in asking the question, well, hang on, how come you do it for them but you weren't doing it for us?
Of course they're entitled to that. And one would have assumed with a player this sort of skill set, this type of ability that he's got, that Amorim would have been able to get a tune out of him as well. And of course a lot of this is to do with the system that they play at Villa. Suits him. They have like a 3 up top, who of course have to defend, but not in the same way a wing-back would.
No, but Martin, is it, with respect, is it not a lot of it's got to do with the fact that the perception is he wants to do it for Villa, whereas he didn't particularly fancy doing it for United?
No, I think it's about the platform. Yeah, the platform you give him. Now, you can see he played up the middle yesterday for Villa, and he could you tell me that he couldn't do that for Manchester United? Why couldn't Amorim find a way for him to be successful in that position?
So now, why couldn't he?
Well, you'll have to ask Amorim that, because the manager of the job is to, first and foremost, he picks the 11, he gets the best from the 11, he has to work with them, and to sort of, you look at the new manager, Emery, is getting a very good tune out of him, whether he plays on the left, whether he plays down the middle. Ollie Watkins was a chance to rest him yesterday. Villa now sort of moving through the gears. Of course, they'd have too much for Preston, you know that. But this fella now is back, he's back on the road again, playing for his country. Okay, You look at it and many people out there will be thinking, though, Martin, from distance, it seems that he's choosing to lift a leg for Villa, whereas he couldn't be bothered at United. If you're in his camp, you'd be saying, come on, give it your best shot, because he's now saying that his fitness has taken a while to get back because he wasn't applying himself right on the training pitch. That's unforgivable. That's unforgivable, because the culture that Amorim is trying to set, you can't have a senior player being seen to not work.
Well, then you've answered your own question, haven't you?
Yeah, but at the same time, the player
took it upon it, as you will recall.
Yeah, but Amorim failed though, because he didn't get the best from the player.
As you will recall, the player took it upon himself to announce to the world via his PR representative Henry Winter that he wasn't looking very happy at Man United and wanted a new opportunity. So you've got a manager now that's going, right, I've come in mid-season, I'm shaking it up a little bit, I've got problems, what I need is everyone alongside me. I don't need him going and doing what he wants to do, which is go and have an interview with the media to impart his particular brand of wisdom. I could have bet you, and in fact I did, any money in the world that we'd see Rashford come alive for Villa. Fantastic. Wait until Villa have got a right check out. And I think Villa are too canny and too wise to fall into this trap. It's one thing having a player on loan when you're paying a small percentage of his wages, so it's a small transaction. You have him for 4 months, it costs you 5 or 6 million quid, nothing, nobody cares. You're getting that back from the gate receipts of the Champions League.
So the balancing act for Amorim is he wants to create a certain culture. And he's saying, OK, I'm not going to have it that this player, maybe he's turned up late for a meeting, there's been indiscretions, so you're out. So he banishes Rashford.
Followed by... But the player did a media interview. The player announced his position.
OK, but there was a falling down, breakdown of communication.
Not really.
Well, there was.
How was it?
Because obviously he wasn't getting the vibes from his manager to begin with. OK, he was wrong to do so. I agree with that. He was wrong to do so. But then you come together again, don't you, in the best interest of the football club, Manchester United. You want him on the pitch.
You sat across a table with us and argued vehemently about the retention of Aubameyang at Arsenal. And you were wrong then, and you're wrong here.
Yes.
The player's gone out on loan.
Aubameyang went off to
loan, he's
look,
nicking a living.
Aubameyang went to Barcelona and scored 19 goals and got them into the Champions League.
And got booted
so
out
it was a short-term fix, but it was being done long-term by Arteta, and it was right. It was right to do so.
But I think this might be.
I think this might be different though, because I don't know if there's a long-term future for Amorim at this football club.
We all said at the time, Martin, short-term gain for long-term loss. We all had this argument.
Yeah, but Amorim's losing too many games.
Now you've got the wisdom
but the
behind
comparison's not really there, Simon, because at least Arteta was winning games.
Rashford is the same.
Do you see?
Man United needs a cultural shift.
Could they not have done with him? Could they have done with him on the pitch? Could they have done with a Rashford firing and flying on the pitch?
But he wasn't, and he hadn't been for some
time.
Whose
fault was that?
He was too busy going out and not turning up for training under the last manager.
So do you feel he's signing for Villa now? Do you think
he was too busy having his birthday parties after getting smashed to pieces?
He was
by
being
Man City
unprofessional, yes,
for a period of time. And so he put out a lovely little image, as you'll remember, how wonderful the training was under the new manager. And 3 weeks later, he's announcing to the world's media that he wants to leave.
Emery should be applauded for what he's done, because he's gone and he's snatched him. He's taken him away from a huge club and he's put him back on the right lines.
I could guarantee you, and I think you're wise enough to know this, that Rashford is clever enough to know that if he goes to Aston Villa and stinks it out there, he's got a problem coming his way. So everybody with half a brain knew he was going to lift a leg.
So you don't just think it was giving the player...
I think the system helps him as well.
Simon Emery's backed him and Tuchel's backed him.
But they back him in a very limited way. Tuchel hasn't got to deal with him that much. He's going to pick him, X amount of times, and perhaps he gets into the World Cup. And he did the same thing a couple of years ago when he wanted to get into the World Cup in Qatar. All of a sudden, turned up, here I am, and bothered to play a decent season.
Yeah. You don't think Villa will buy him?
No. I think they're too wise for it. And first of all, they're not going to be able to want to pay £320,000 a week and a £50 million transfer fee.
Too big a deal.
Too big a deal.
You see, that's what we're getting. There's Guy, who is one of our listeners this morning. Why the hell are you guys lauding Rashford? Well, we're not really doing that. He's only doing the bare minimum expected for any forward, which is to run out, go wide, break in, score goals, and get 350 grand a week. But we're asking, right. He says it's embarrassing.
But we are asking for a balanced conversation here, and I do feel that there is a talented boy there. And at the end of the day, I'd rather, if I was a Man United manager, have him at my club and doing that on the pitch. And I'd feel in some way that I'd failed as well.
Can you see him back at Man United?
I think that's the only way forward, Jim, because I don't see that the deal's going to go forward at the figures that we're talking about and the wages we're talking about.
He's done.
It suits everybody right now, by the way, for him to do what he's doing.
Radcliffe and the guys
club and
done.
player.
They'll have to take a view.
He's trying to get to the USA in the World Cup with England.
He's done at Manchester United.
Right.
That die is being cast. You don't do an interview with the media, then get flung out on loan, and it comes back around in a full circle.
So if that die has been cast and he can't go back to Manchester United,
someone's going to have to take a view on the money.
And Villa aren't going to buy him.
Someone's going to, and who's going to take a view on the money? Rashford.
Is it as simple as that?
I'll tell you why he's going to take a view on the money. Because if he goes back to Man United and doesn't play ball Man United, they'll park his backside up and he'll be playing in no World Cup. So he'll have to take a view himself about, well, I'm not going anywhere unless I get precisely what I want. OK, we'll see about that when you come back in the summer and Man United rebuild their team, you're not part of it, and all of a sudden you're not part of anything, and people are taking a view on you, and all of a sudden you'll take a view on what you're prepared to accept in a deal.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.